Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, get that clipped up on her.
I saw that, but I tried to pay on. We got a system going here. Well, if you've got a better system, let us know. Well, I think it would be, you have a checkbook. Yeah. But, that would help. But the other thing is she used the name as every time someone gives you $30 to go. Well, maybe not in the book, or that's, originally I think we talked about, I'll just do $30 cash. Linda or somebody said, no, we gotta track this. Yeah. So they gave it to me, all that cash, and you said, I get the. I mean, and I am like, keeps updated that. My purse is on, my keys are in my hand. I also have all the receipts and so the okay. Together it doesn't get nothing. Okay. And well, like, and I mean, you want a picture of where to go, you want to get into the winter, I mean, I don't want to learn about that. Under no form or would that be a remote possibility for me. Sure. I mean, it's like, no, I'm not gonna. I have to hug this guy. This is one of my favorite people. And so the second year, I put policies in place because I'm a policy girl. Oh, I'm watching you all. In that case, she said, that's all right. No. Come on, Bernie. Here, why don't you get in and I'll take a picture.
Like that. I fell on the ground.
Aren't you gonna come? Don't you want to come?
I had to crawl to try to find a way to get up there.
No, find the photo.
Oh, yeah. That was
I would say we can go over there.
But it is nice there, the post office.
You walk softly and carry a very big stick.
School out, and then it hit.
Okay, here we go. This work? Oh, very nice, very nice. Okay.
I put on my blinker and they opened up a spot so I could go to the I-10.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and said, holy mackerel.
Oh, it's an absolute nightmare. Everything can.
Well, the thing is, even here though, I mean, my grandkids are no longer in Empire. That's still gonna be a mess, because they're gonna block up one whole section of the road, and then the people that wanna go that way, now instead of only having to go one lane, they're now having to go at least 4 lanes, because you got the 3 on their side, plus you got all the traffic coming that way.
And sadly, as you build capacity, it really just increases.
Well, they never put the schools in a place that. Well, they didn't. I mean, I got a couple schools that. I've got one school that you can't get into it unless you go down the road, make a U-turn, and come back. And it was done that way because I think the developer gave them the land free. But the problem was because he knew he couldn't sell it too.
Absolutely.
You know.
Oh,
Yes.
microphones are now hot?
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
What do you need?
Priscilla, I would reframe what your therapist said.
I'm gonna mic her out.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So everything's gonna go live over Facebook.
Okay, we'll finish.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Speaking in other languages.
Okay.
And thank you for the card. That was very nice.
We appreciate your
Very
partnership
nice.
and coming out.
Yeah,
We wanted to do a little thank you to
that's really
everybody.
nice.
Bad one, okay.
Okay, so I like the pretty spelled back, I don't know if you have any pockets. Oh, that's good.
Okay, we got a little adjustment going on.
I've ever noticed that down the ankle many times.
So where do you want this?
Okay, so let's see. Your hair looks really nice like that. I've been meaning to tell you. I feel like you're doing a
I
little
left with it wet this morning to take my hubby to the doctor's appointment at 8.
Oh,
And I have not looked in a year, so you get what you get. That's the benefit of croning.
Yes,
We don't care anymore.
yeah, really.
Right? Sure. Okay.
all right, folks, I think we're gonna get started. 5:02 by some watches and 5:07 by this one. Good evening, my name is Elaine. I don't normally wear dark glasses, but the future's so bright. I get it. That was a song way back. But I'm going to be doing cataracts, and I have to be without contact lenses for days with all these pre-op appointments. So, welcome to SEAC's October community meeting. My name is Elaine. I'm on the board. For those of you who are new, we are SEAC, S-E-A-C, which stands for Southeast Area Council. And like I had nothing else to do, I was kind of curious what other groups had the same abbreviation as us, as SEAC. And I found out that SEAC also stands for the Southeastern Archaeological Conference. And if anyone's interested, it's going to be going on next month in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It also stands for Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, so I thought that was impressive. It also, this took a little while, it is a diving and snorkeling company, equipment company. And SEAC, which stands for the sea, is calling. I thought that's cute. SEAC also stands for Special Education Assistant Certificate or Special Education Advisory Council, so you could have a SEAC to be on their SEAC. It also stands for Southeast Asia Center, Southeast Asia Command, and it also stands for Structural Engineer Association of Colorado, which incidentally their fall program is also next month in Westminster. And if you're really intent on going, you can earn 6 professional credit hours if you attend. But then I had to read the fine print. It says up to 6, because if you just go for the freebie happy hour and breakfast, you're not going to get your credits. But finally, and I'm sure there are lots of others, SEAC also stands for Southeast Alaska Conservation Council, which technically is SEAC, so that's really SEAC. So, but we are Southeast Area Council, and I know Southeast is technically one word. We had to make it to, because we didn't want to be SAC, Strategic Air Command, and we didn't want to be confused with them. So here we are, we're SEAC, and we serve the southeast communities of Pima County. There's Miss April. So tonight, I really messed up. In fact, I'm going to put her down right here. I really messed up last month. I left off some of our board members. So here we have tonight, we have Ann Gibson, our president. Carol Wagner-William is our secretary. Miss April Moss is signing in. And we have JJ Leon. There she is. That's it. Okay, good. Do we have any VIPs in the room? I know, who's a VIP that someone's, oh, well, yeah. Yes, we have some Rocking K folks here. I'm going to let Priscilla introduce them. That's part of her team. Okay. All right, so tonight we are, speaking of Priscilla, we are very grateful to have Priscilla Storm as our speaker. She's going to educate us on the procedures for land use change here in unincorporated Pima County. That's us. She will then talk about Rocking K, which unless you've lived under a rock, get it, you've seen Rocking K developments. There are new neighborhoods and all of the areas along Sabino, Old Spanish Trail, excuse me. She is vice president for Diamond Ventures, which is the development company for Rocking K. Diamond Ventures was founded in 1988 with a vision of becoming one of the leading real estate development and investment companies in Arizona. Not this. So what does Vice President Priscilla Storm do for Diamond Ventures? She leads the company real estate regulatory advocacy. She monitors federal, state, and local elections and governmental policies. She is active in identifying, researching, and evaluating new investment opportunities. She manages the company's custom home and master plan community associations. She oversees corporate marketing and special projects within the company's real estate and private equity portfolio. She manages the company's interests in Mexico, and she is one person, just one person that does all that. Prior to joining Diamond Ventures in 2001, Priscilla held executive positions in several industry sectors, including Native American economic development, agriculture, hospital administration, and commercial lending. She volunteers and is actively participating in real estate and business organizations. For example, in her spare time, she is also chair for the Greater Vail Area Chamber of Commerce's Board of Directors. She received her BA degree in U.S. Border Studies and Communications from Trinity University, and her MBA is in International Trade from Texas A&M International University. I'm tired just reading this. So please welcome Ms. Priscilla Storm. Thank you, doll.
Thank you. And I still am not sure what I want to be when I grow up, so there is that. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys tonight. I'm going to move through this really quickly. I wanted to kind of, in our office, we use the analogy of a funnel quite a bit. So we look at Rocking K in the context of the Southeast area, and certainly the Greater Vail Area Chamber of Commerce has looked, what is the Southeast? We talk about it a lot, and so we've spent some time looking at different ways we could define the Southeast. And then kind of as there's a lot of designated growth that is moving into the Southeast, and kind of how does that happen, and what is that process, and then ending with Rocking K and where are we now, and what can we expect in the near term and the longer term for Rocking K as it gets developed. So I'm just going to talk, and maybe the slides and I will be in sync, and maybe they won't. Okay? Or I guess I can look at them and keep clicking so we can. Do I need to tell you? Oh, yeah. Or do I need to? There's not a. There's,
Hold on a second. Is it not going?
tap dancing was not in my CV, so I cannot,
Let me reopen it.
Yeah, some cumbia music would be good. That would work, Okay. Yeah. So that's what I just told you. We're kind of going to go through that process. So go ahead and keep going. So this is when we think about the Southeast is home to a lot of our major employers and destination tourist attractions. And so I consider it I-19 coming around the airport, taking in Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, kind of going out to the Cochise County line and down sort of to Sahuarita Road, which comes across where the word Sahuarita is. Down from the fairgrounds where Houghton intersects and you have Corona de Tucson, that area. So next slide. For the purposes, we all know that RTA Next has been, is now on the ballot for next March. The Southeast area has not received the adequate funding that corresponds with the growth that it's had for the last several decades. And so we wanted to work to make sure that the projects that were in the draft RTA Next plan stayed in the plan. And several of us worked on that. And we sort of tightened our focus of the Southeast as we worked on the RTA Next project. So this is another iteration of that. Next slide. It's important in the Southeast to know who your elected officials are. The interesting thing is we clearly know how large District 4 is, which is Steve Christie. And Supervisor Ray Carroll held it for a very long period of time, from 97 to 2016. And Steve Christie has held it from 2016 to date. But also in that description of I-19 to the airport and going around, District 2 is also part of the Southeast, which is Dr. Matt Hines. Previously, it was held by Ramon Valadez from 2003 to 2020. So right now, Matt Hines and Steve Christie are important decision makers for the Southeast. Next slide. Next slide. Yep. So here's the city wards. Obviously, Nikki Lee, we know, is part of the Vail Unified School District, is in that Ward 4, and is a decision maker for the Southeast. But so is Ward 5, which Richard Fimbres resigned in May, and there's an interim city council member in that district, in that Ward 5 seat, and then the election will be held the first week in November. So when we talk about the Southeast, Ward 5, Ward 4, Pima County District 2, Pima County District 4 are really the elected officials that have local governance that can impact us within the Vail Unified School District and the Southeast. Next slide. This is the census designated places. So the U.S. Census Department designates CDPs. In the federal definition, it says a census designated place has every attribute of an incorporated city, but for incorporation in an elected government. It has an identity. People identify themselves as being from that area. It has defined geographic boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. So in the Southeast, And there's another one in the southeast, which is Summit, which is over directly under the airport. But there's 4 CDPs recognized by the U.S. Census in the southeast. A lot of what is the Rincon Valley is collectively called Vail, but for the purposes of the U.S. Census, they're in 2 different designated places. Next slide. So I thought this was interesting. From U.S. Census, I wanted to show the population in the 3 CDPs and the growth rate. So actually, Corona to Tucson has had the most aggressive growth rate from 2000 to 2020. And even though the numbers are relatively small, from 863 to 9,240, the growth rate is explosive, particularly when you look at some of the incorporated jurisdictions and municipalities have single-digit growth rates. You know, you're going to have a 1% growth rate as, you know, less than a 1% growth rate annually, you know, that kind of thing. So this is what, when Rocking K opened, and we'll talk about this later, this growth rate occurred in the southeast before Rocking K opened. So in context, there was a significant amount of growth before Rocking K opened. Next slide. This is just showing, again, the RTA Next projects. I think all of you know that the Regional Transportation Authority that 20 years ago authorized a 0.5-cent sales tax provides 2/3 of all of the funding for our roadways. And it will expire next year. And if it's not reauthorized, we all see what we don't have with that 2/3 funding source. So imagine where we'll be if that 2/3 funding source is not re-upped next year. And I particularly just wanted to show, we had a couple of really terrific wins, I think, for the Southeast. One had to do with Colossal Cave Road from I-10 to the Marianne Cleveland connection. It's the single largest and most expensive project in the region. $147 million is a single project. There was a lot of opposition to it. A lot of, there's very strong advocacy for transit and bus expansion, and emphasis for funding roads in the urban populated core. So this was not a popular project. It was an easy one to take off the list because it was out here in the Tules. There's not that many voters out here, and it was a really big, expensive project. Several of us in the room, and I have to give a shout out to JJ, worked very hard to keep this project on the list, and it made the final cut, which was huge. The other one that was at risk was the widening of Marianne Cleveland Way from Houghton to the Colossal Cave connection. At the last minute, the way RTA works, every jurisdiction had to put in their projects, their priority projects, named projects. Nikki Lee, at the last minute, added Marianne Cleveland Way, the portion that was in the city of Tucson. The other obligation of the municipalities is to assign a priority to that project. So we're very thankful for Nikki Lee for putting Marianne Cleveland Way in the city of Tucson into the mix, but she did not assign it any priority. And so it too was vulnerable of being taken off the list. The other challenge with that project is that Pima County, Marianne Cleveland Way ends, and Pima County starts for the eastern portion of Marion Cleveland Way. Pima County had not put their portion in. So you had a section of Marion Cleveland Way that was in, but not given any priority status within the city of Tucson's priorities. And you had Marion Cleveland Way that Pima County had not put their section in. Again, a group, and Denise Bowles, the president and CEO of the Greater Vail Area Chamber, is here. She was part of that group. We attended the RTA meetings. We wrote letters. We every lever or knob we could push or turn, we used to, and both of these projects made the final list, which is it should be incredible for the Southeast area. I am told repeatedly that they don't help any real estate assets that Diamond Ventures owns, but they do help the Southeast region, which is important. The other one that happened at the last minute is ADOT agreed to prioritize an interchange at Rita and I-10. So anyway, this is not an RTA presentation, but that's kind of why this is up there. Okay, next slide. So then we get to how do you go from vacant desert to blading that desert and building something? So every piece of land in Pima County has two designations on it. It has a planning designation and a zoning designation underneath it. Before you can develop that property, the planning designation and the zoning designation need to be in alignment. So let's say you have an industrial planning designation and a low density residential zone underneath it. If I owned that land or I bought that land and wanted to develop it, I couldn't until I went through a public process that also allowed public input to get the planning designation and the zoning designation in alignment. So what you want is a residential planning designation and a residential zoning designation. Then you can take a project through. But and each one of those comprehensive plan amendment is mandated by Arizona revised statutes. There's a period of time that the county accepts applications. They're heard within that calendar year. So you typically, in Pima County, if you want to amend the Pima County Comprehensive Plan, you will apply in the spring and you will be heard in the fourth quarter, basically. And those are 10-year. Statute requires that every jurisdiction in Arizona adopt a 10-year land use plan. Every city and every county in the state of Arizona, by state law, has to adopt a 10-year land use plan and have a process for amending that every year to kind of say, how are we going to grow in the next 10 years? So the first statement, the larger the parcel, the heavier the burden, and that's sort of logical. That makes sense. And what we typically do is you have a comp plan amendment, a rezoning, and then after you get both of those, you enter into a contract with the jurisdiction that spells out the rights and responsibilities, timing and financing for what you have to do, which is a development agreement. That's kind of the process. We'll go through it a little bit more. Next slide. So these are some examples of the planning designations. And then the next two slides are examples of zoning designations. There's many more zoning designations than there are planning designations, but you have to tick and tie them. But until those two are in alignment, no property owner can develop or has the rights to develop or the permissions to develop. So here's a comprehensive plan of the Southeast and the legend. And just you can look at this area here, or you can look up in this yellow area here. Then go to the next slide. You'll see that where this pink is where there was yellow in the planning designation on the previous slide, or you see where this green is broken because the zoning designation and the planning designations are not in alignment. But again, from a Southeast perspective, you have a set of planning designations for the Southeast, and you have an existing set of zoning designations for all the land in the Southeast. Make sense? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so when you have the comp plan and the comp plan designation and the zoning designation aligned, then you can take a particular acreage and apply for a rezoning. These are the steps to rezone a property after those other two boxes have been checked. And specifically, because Elaine asked me to, these are the periods where there is designated public input. So you have a pre-application meeting with Pima County staff, then you have a neighborhood meeting, you submit your application, which is a site analysis, and we'll go through what you have to submit, because a lot of the questions the public has about wildlife and water and traffic and all those kinds of things have to be covered in the specific requirements of the application using a site analysis checklist. Staff and external agency application review. So when you submit it, it's not only every department, relevant department in Pima County, but it gets sent to the State Land Department, it gets sent to other agencies. So that's the external agency review. And then we get comments back from staff, and there's a lot of back and forth. So we submit our application per the site analysis. They have 30 days to review it. They submit comments back. We respond to those comments, and it kind of goes back and forth until all the kinks are worked out. Then, when it's worked out, staff will review it and make a recommendation to approve it, deny it, or approve it with conditions, and it will go to Pima County Planning and Zoning Commission. And then Planning and Zoning Commission, which is made up of 10 people, 10 citizens that are appointed by the 5 Board of Supervisors, will hear it and make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. They can go with staff's recommendation or they can alter it. Then that goes to the Board of Supervisors. And again, the Board of Supervisors can go with staff's recommendation, planning and zoning recommendation, or make their own recommendation to approve with modifications, or deny. Next slide. So here's the site analysis. The last slide was a process. This is the nitty-gritty. So when we submit, you do what's on the land that you have. What are the existing land uses and easements, the comp plan and zoning on the site, and the comprehensive plan and zoning on the surrounding land, the topography, elevation, and cross slopes, the biological resources and impacts to those biological resources, the off-site and on-site hydrology, existing, this is existing, not planned, so the existing recreation areas, if any, transportation, what are the existing and planned streets, existing public sewer and sewer expansion, existing I don't know why recreation is on there twice. Existing recreation on site and within 1 mile, the trails and rights of way, cultural, archaeological, and historic sites. I'm not turning back to look at JJ. The composite of topographic, hydrologic, and biological constraints. So after you've done this, you sort of overlay them. Where are their slopes? Where is their drainage? Where is their biology? And sort of what's left is sort of your developable land kind of thing. And then what is the land use proposal and project description? Does it comply with the zoning code? Because remember, we have the preliminary development plan, which I didn't put those in here. There's 16 different boxes in your preliminary development plan. The topography and grading, what you're going to do in terms of modifying we just looked at the current topography, and then how are we going to change it? And then what is a post-development hydrology? And you need a preliminary integrated water management plan. The acronym for that everybody uses is PWIMP. So it's a PWIMP, preliminary integrated water management plan. Next slide. And it goes on. We have the impacts to the biological resources, the landscape buffer yards and visual mitigation, the proposed ingress and egress, the off-site road improvements, the average daily trips, and the street and road level of service. I think everybody knows, but every road in Pima County is assigned a level of service. This is a federal standard, and it's just like in school, it's an A through an F. And that will tell you the level of service of the road in terms of its capacity. And so proposed bicycle and pedestrian pathways, the traffic impact study and a traffic impact analysis, wastewater treatment and disposal plan, soil evaluations, a sewer service capacity letter, which we have to get from Pima County Wastewater, which Fernanda used to work for, so had to be nice to her back in the day. The education and school capacity letter for residential development, so we contact the districts to see where the schools are close to the project, what the student count is, whether they have any capacity at that school. Proposed on-site recreation and whether it will be public or private. Proposed trails on or off-site, cultural resources, environmental quality, what is the dust control plan during development, and any existing or proposed agreements that, I mean, there's could be private access easements for an adjacent property owner. There could be a cattle lease agreement, you know, things that exist that might impact the land. So all of that is all bundled up and submitted to Pima County Development Services. So let's say you get all through that process, you submit it, it goes back and forth, you have public input, neighborhood meetings, and they do modify the plan. The plan does get, I've never known a plan that didn't get modified by community input. And you'll go through planning and zoning, and you go to the Board of Supervisors, and you get an approval. Then planning staff will draft a rezoning ordinance, and this formally changes the map, which is the map that we saw before. So it would change the zone on that map. And in the rezoning ordinance, it lists all the conditions of approval. And so you'll see, if you ever watch a hearing, it'll go, I make a motion to approve with standard and special conditions. Standard and special conditions are a really long list. Most of the time, it's standard and special conditions, and it's plus some that are site specific, you know, that are unique to that particular project. So it's usually a combination of both. So now you have it, you have your rezoning ordinance and your permission, and then all the conditions of rezoning approval are checked when you submit your plat And we say a plat for residential development, and we say a development site plan for commercial. But so making sure we comply with the conditions of zoning approval happens at the plat, and then when we go to a grading permit and a building permit and those kinds of things. So once you have that list, as you go forward with development, they keep checking back. And then after the zoning approval, it's optional, but it's often used. A development agreement is entered into between Pima County and the property owner. And it's a voluntary contract, and it specifies the how. So you've gotten the what, but this sort of says when and how, and sort of, so that comp plan amendment, rezoning, development agreement. You saw all of those rezoning categories, and you have some that are specifically residential and specifically commercial. For larger acreages that are going to be multi-year, multi-decade phase developments, what's often used in both the city, Pima County and the city of Tucson, and every jurisdiction here has something similar to this. In Pima County, it's called a specific plan. A specific plan is a hybrid that takes these large projects and writes an entire section of the rezoning code, you know, kind of as a hybrid to address everything. So when we submit for our rezoning, we are submitting for a specific plan rezoning and going through that checklist with the site analysis. Then when we get to us. So, okay. So we're a master planned community, and the community vision and phase development guidelines are based on Pima County's approved Rocking K specific plan and Pima County approved development agreements. Other Pima County state and federal regulations also apply. Master plan communities require updates to technical studies during their development phases, and master plan communities are frequently multi-decade projects. So Ed Baruch is here. He operates the HOA for Rocking K. So to give you an example of this, the Army Corps of Engineers has designated some of the wash corridors in Rocking K as 404 washes. So we have a monsoon rain, and we have a lot of dirt and erosion that goes across a trailer path. And we have residents say, can you come clean that off because I like to mountain bike through that? And Ed's response is?
Well, technically we're not supposed to do any work.
Yes. Yep. So when I say we're governed by Pima County, there's the Federal Army Corps of Engineers has designated washes in Rocking K, and they do not want any improvement or modifications in that wash, even moving erosion out of a path, just as an example. Okay, next. So this is a little bit about some of what we do to try to be a decent community partner. When you work for a developer, it's important that you become a part of the community because you're building in that community. So we have dedicated the acreage in Rincon Creek to Pima County Flood Control District, and we have dedicated an alignment in acreage for Hope Camp Trail. And I have some maps and illustrations after this. I think some of you know, some of you may not, but Diamond Ventures paid for the construction of the Valencia Road extension from Houghton to Old Spanish Trail, including the bridge over the Pantano Wash. I don't think there's any other private development company that has made a significant regional improvement like that. I've asked, I'm hoping somebody shows up that will trump us. I would like to not be in first place. We have eliminated 2 Rocking K golf courses. Obviously, Saguaro Creek K-8 school just opened in Rocking K. Our original agreement was for 15 acres. The Saguaro Creek school is now 25 acres. We were one of the first developers many, many years ago. Mr. Diamond, who founded the company, believed that public education was infrastructure. Like you want your water to run in your sink and your toilets to flush and, you know, that kind of thing. He considered public education infrastructure. It was really important to him. So we provide a voluntary contribution to VUSD for every home that we build. And in all the other, we don't only build in Vail School District, we build in other school districts as well. We also own the Rincon Valley Farmers and Artisans Market and the Big Green Barn. We have financially sponsored that for, I've worked at Diamond Ventures 25 years, and so I don't know, I could probably find out when it began, but we have been financially supporting that for this community for a long time. When Ray's Market closed the grocery store, when it had a gas station, it sat empty for a while. We purchased it and did the environmental remediation for the gas station portion of it, and then worked to find someone who would agree to operate the store for us. It's the Bus Booms. They operate two-back market. And so that's something that we did to try to provide until a bigger grocery store comes in the Rincon Valley, at least you can get a dozen eggs. We do like to support the Vail Preservation Society, and because you're a force to be reckoned with. And obviously, we believe very strongly in the Greater Vail Area Chamber of Commerce. There's so many small businesses out here. There's like 700 small businesses in the Southeast that all need our support, and without being incorporated, we really rely on these nonprofit and organizations to provide those services. Okay, yes.
What did you mean by golf courses?
Okay, the Rocking K in its original entitlement was, we are zoned to have golf courses. And so we have eliminated 2 of them, and you'll see what we have left as we go through it. But it was, yeah. So we can just click through these real quick. That's sort of Saguaro Creek. So, Ed, you want to talk a little bit about what we do with Vail Unified School District? Some of the kinds of things we do? Oh, you've got to get a mic.
Sorry.
Thanks, Susan. So we've had a very active summer program for the kids in Rocking K, and we've been collaborating with the teachers in the Vail School District to help run that summer program. We also offer activities for kids during their breaks in the spring and in the fall, you know, who go to the schools in the Vail School District, just to keep them occupied. So we've had a good partnership with them. Now that the school is open, we can use some of their amenities for meetings and things like that.
Yep, and we have a sports camp, and the coaches and some of the high school students come and help us run the sports camps to the programs that Ed was talking about, and we provide an honorarium to their organizations and for their help.
I want to mention too, there's a group of students, part of the Future Business Leaders of America, or FBLA, and they come out and they help clean up areas in Rocking K and do other service projects like that. And we support their club as well with an honorarium.
So we go and meet with the high schools, and there's a teacher that is assigned to the student organizations, Spanish club, choir, whatever they are. And we say, if any of your organizations want to volunteer at Rocking K, you can get with the HOA and we'll figure something out, so that instead of selling wrapping paper and candles and candy bar, we want to support these kids in what they're doing. And so there's a lot of different ways we do it. Can you go back one? Keep going forward. I don't think we do. There, yeah, that. Oh, I know what it was. Go back. I'm sorry. I blitzed. Okay, so the blue area is what we've dedicated of Rincon Creek to Pima County Flood Control District. And the teal area at the top is what we have dedicated to Pima County Parks and Rec for the Hope Camp Trail. And there's also the designation of a trailhead on some Pima County Flood Control District land that is on Old Spanish Trail. Okay. We talked about the farmers market and market. There's Valencia Road alignment. Here's a photo of the bridge. Here's a beloved post office. Here's Vail and Calvin Baker, who recently was recognized. We also, if you go back one, we also had a Juneteenth event this year that was sponsored by the Chamber in the Southeast, which was cool. It was a first here. So here's our current situation. Well, let me stop before I do this. Are there any questions before I get into Rocking K specific? Yes.
What do you call the Rocking K that's behind the store?
I call it Ranchos Pequeños, believe it or not.
Ranchos what?
Pequeños, which is small ranches, because that's its official name on the plat. So it either gets, in the office, I'm just saying Ranchos Pequeños, or I call it Rocking K Ranch Estates.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, we get a lot of questions. It was never part of the original Rocking K. I mean, in terms of land that we owned or developed. Yeah, we never owned the land that's called, what's it called? Original Rocking K or Old Rocking K or something of what it gets called now. We never, in terms of our company, we didn't own or develop that property. It's a lovely property though. I mean, I love the houses in there.
So I just have one question. On the map, for those that are watching, and for me, I'm new to this, can you explain what the flood district is? Is that the overflow of water or to protect the homes?
Pima County Regional Flood Control District is an entity. So it's often viewed as a department of Pima County. So if you have a transportation department, a flood control department, cultural and archaeological department, that kind of thing. So flood control district, but it's actually a district. So when you see your property taxes, you will see a tax for Pima County Flood Control District because it's established in Arizona revised statutes. So the Board of Supervisors sit as the Board of Supervisors for Pima County, and they also sit as the board for the Flood Control District. So they are the owner. It's a transfer of ownership from us to the district.
So back to your development and your zoning. Is there any reason why you would have an area that's gonna be developed, that they don't go to public input and they just develop it?
For us,
No, for anybody, any developer.
oh, it depends on where you are in the process. Okay, so for instance, Rocking K went through this process in the late 90s, right? Massive amounts of public input. Everything that everybody brings up now was brought up then, I promise. We literally have a garage storage unit that is only Rocking K files. I told Fernanda, I'm tempted to take a picture of what the archives are of Rocking K from then to now. So if they have to apply in unincorporated Pima County for a comprehensive plan amendment or a rezoning to trigger the public input process, if they buy a piece of land that has already gone through the process, or like now where we have people that want to have public input in Rocking K, that
It's already
that
done
ship
deal.
has sailed. We all live by those rules. Any more than you as a homeowner, if one of your neighbors wanted to have input on your home addition or wanted you to do something, you would go, no, I've already gone through the process and have the rights that I have. So you're not gonna.
Okay, so not any Diamond Venture Rocking K current development or future development, but any other developer that has plans to develop, they have to go through.
Not plans to develop, it has to be plans to change a land use. By the time you develop, you already have those rights to develop. By the time you go vertical, by the time you're blading and grading, you already have the rights to develop. So the public input comes in the land planning process for a comprehensive plan amendment or a rezoning application.
So that planning could have happened years ago, and the input then was 5 people because that's all that lived out there. And
Maybe,
okay,
yeah.
if they showed up, if they showed up.
And this is the world according to Priscilla. So I hold myself accountable for providing accurate information. Somewhere I should have, please call Development Services if you want, something other than me trying to be authentic and open here, right?
Is there a place we can go? Is there a place we can go to look at, these are all the public hearings scheduled?
Yes.
Okay, where?
There. Okay, so do you want City of Tucson and Pima County?
Just Pima County.
Just Pima County. So
Is it Planning and Zoning?
Planning and Zoning Commission is held on the last Wednesday of every month. The agenda is typically put out. It's delivered to the commissioners, I think, the Friday before that Wednesday. So,
Okay.
yep, you can see what's on the agenda there.
It's huge.
The other is the Daily Territorial, a newspaper.
Okay, I don't think we get them, okay.
No, but you're still required to put notices, according to Arizona revised statutes, to put notices in the newspaper.
No, it's a territorial.
A Daily Territorial is a newspaper, and it has the public notices of land use changes and as far upstream as you can get them.
Okay, so I
Okay,
assume-
because when you get it, when you get the agenda for the Planning and Zoning Commission, there's not a lot of time between when you get the agenda and the meeting itself. but the notices of land use changes are in the daily territorial.
So we would
Fernanda, can you think of anywhere else would be an early notice of a land use change that would have?
Planning and zoning, no. I mean, sometimes they have neighborhood meetings and they have to send those out within a certain, I'm sorry, I was still
Yeah.
paying attention, I just ignored it. So typically they,
About 300 feet.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they do have a certain amount of, distance you have to
Yeah,
be in.
when there
order
is a
to
land
get a
use
notice.
change, it is required that you notify people within, well, in the city of Tucson, you notify them with, I think, more than 300 feet, isn't it? And then all the registered neighborhood associations within some,
The registered neighborhood associations within 1 mile of a zoning
yeah,
in the city.
right, in the city.
But otherwise, it's just within a 300 feet. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the HOA may get notified,
Yeah.
but they may not too. So,
Yeah,
In our area, that could be a couple of road runners.
yeah,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
exactly.
And a lot of developers do notices beyond the 300 feet. I know we have rezoned land down in the Corona de Tucson area, and the 300 feet didn't catch anybody. So we like, we have to keep expanding it until we get to houses, right? I mean, so, but the requirement is 300 feet.
I'll just say that that's a really good thing to do because many developers do not do that.
Well,
Yeah, so thank you.
Rocking K is, and everything we do as a Diamond Ventures is a family-owned company. We have 20 employees. Most of us have worked together more than 20 years. And we're proud of the work that we do, and we try to do it well. We know that change and land use changes next to existing neighborhoods is not easy and not comfortable and not always welcome, and we understand that, but we try to do a good job of it. So this has been planned for decades. It's been anticipated before Rocking K South became a reality in 2020, when you started to see, grading happen. And the public participation and input during the process was extensive, and it did result in changes to the land use plan and development. And the rezonings were moved to the Tucson Convention Center because of the amount of public input. So, hence the garage full of files. Yeah. Yes.
Is the new Rocking K considered being Tucson or?
It's Pima County. It's unincorporated Pima County.
Okay.
In District 4. It's complex, it's sizable. We have accountability and compliance with numerous regulatory agencies and coordination with contractors and vendors. And sometimes the contractors get crosswise. You don't want electric lines and water trenches at the same time. Ongoing site maintenance and support services to the builders, tenants, and residents. And we do understand that the reality of Rocking K opening in 2021 and the development process creates heightened local interest. Some of the calls and emails we get, heightened local interest is a nice way to put it. But, given the status of our regulatory approvals and our phase development plans and our financing obligations, we're really focused on implementing the vision and the approvals that we have. So, yeah.
So it's probably kind of a silly question, but I live in Rocking K and we love our community.
Thank you.
But why do we have a Tucson address? Because it causes a lot of confusion. Don't get me started on utilities.
So this is, yeah. I would like that not to be the case.
That
There's a mixed, no, some people put Vail, Arizona, some people put Rincon Valley, Arizona, some people put Tucson, Arizona, and it's supposed to go just by the zip code.
But our zip code's different. When we set up our utilities, it was A, but all of our mail has to go to B.
Ah, yeah. There are 2 zip codes in Rocking K South, which does also makes it tricky. Well, we should probably
Have a conversation later.
call Ed, and we'll see if we can get it worked out for you. But one of the challenges is that Rocking K technically is in the Rincon Valley CDP. It's not in the Vail CDP. So if someone was to ask me, where is Rocking K, I would say Rincon Valley. But we're also used to saying Vail as sort of covering the southeast. It gets to be, they all apply. It's like I was going to go, you could call me something other than Priscilla and I would answer, but I'm not sure if that's true. So these are the phases of Rocking K. So when we got all of our entitlements, Academy Village was the first phase of Rocking K. And legally in the state of Arizona, you're required to invest in what you just got permission to develop in order to vest your development rights. So the development rights that we received in the specific plan were vested by investments in infrastructure and in Academy Village. So it's interesting because sometimes we have conversations with Academy Village and the residents of Academy Village don't know that we're part of Rocking K, but they are our first phase. The second phase is Rocking K south of Old Spanish Trail. The third phase is Rocking K Village Town Center that is north of Old Spanish Trail and south of the Rincon Creek. Timing to be determined. And then the final phase will be Rocking K north of the Rincon Creek going up to Saguaro National Park and the Rincon Mountain Range. Next. So here's just a snapshot. Rocking K encompasses 4,828 acres of land in the Rincon Valley and is zoned for 6,700 dwelling units. Currently, the plans are estimated to be developed as follows. Rocking K South, which is 2,047 acres south of Old Spanish Trail, and approximately 4,500 units and 45% open space. Rocking K North refers to the 2,781 acres north of Old Spanish Trail, with approximately 2,200 residential units, 40 commercial acres, a golf course, and a resort. We've already talked about this, but the original Rocking K specific plan was adopted in 1990 and amended in 1996, and the Phase 1 development agreement was recorded in 1992 and has been amended and updated as we moved along. For instance, when we originally received the specific plan approval, the thought was that we would begin with our first phase north of Old Spanish Trail, and we would go from the mountains down. So we amended a development agreement to switch the phases and start from south of Old Spanish Trail north. Next slide. So we do get a lot of calls, and we really do appreciate calls. You guys have your eyes on the region here. And so we appreciate getting emails and calls. I know Ed does. We all do. And a lot of times, I think what people don't realize, they will say, this is happening here. And we have to go check the engineering maps because the land may be Pima County. It could be, we could own it. It could be owned by a home builder. It could be owned by the association, or it could be under control of one of the utilities. So the first thing we have to do when we get a notice of something going on, let's say there's construction trash here. The very first thing we do is go, who owns the land underneath that? Who is responsible for that? Oftentimes, we'll call them and say, we're going to go out and pick it up, or, but it's not all under our control. So I think that's one of the things that is valuable to know. And that map is constantly being updated. So whoever controls it today, 6 months from now, it's the same mix of owners, but as we sell land and transfer land, it changes. Diamond Ventures and the Diamond family originally acquired, assembled, and obtained the development approvals. Like I said, I'm starting my 25th year there. The very first week in 2001, I worked on Rocking K. So it is definitely a legacy project for us, and it's one that everybody in the office that works on has a great sense of responsibility for and pride in how it's developed. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question that I would like to ask on behalf of several other people.
Sure.
And it's regarding the cemetery that adjoins your property.
Yeah.
And of course, Halloween's coming up, so everybody's well aware of what goes on there on Halloween. There is a question about why Rocking K won't fence it in. And I explained to people it is not Rocking K's property. It's a property that belongs to the two families that developed the cemetery.
Yeah.
That doesn't stop the questioning.
Sure.
They feel that you have some sort of responsibility, which you really do not have, to protect that cemetery.
I guess you're correct in saying we have open space land between Mattamy, Mattamy Homes, I think it's called Covina Point, right? Yes. Covina Point, Mattamy Homes is going to build there, and then there's an expanse of open space before the cemetery boundary. So I'm not sure how it's not protected or how it's really any different from an access point than it was before.
There are a few locations where it's only 17 feet.
Yeah. But we don't have any plans to fence it.
No, I mean, they have an association and they're registered with the Arizona Corporation Commission and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm aware that they really
Yeah.
don't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
It was requested.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking.
Yeah.
And
I have had people call too.
Yeah, the amount of people that have asked, will you pay for this and will you pay on other people's property, is a pretty extensive list. And we understand why people would ask, and we hope that they would understand why we respectfully decline. You won't know if you don't ask, right? So we're not ever, offended by people asking. So one of the things that comes up is about water and who is the water provider. The Spanish Trail Water Company is a private water provider in the Rincon Valley, which includes both Rocking K south of Old Spanish Trail as well as north of Old Spanish Trail. Private water companies are regulated by the Arizona Corporation Commission, the Arizona Department of Water Resources. We need to capitalize that D. And the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. Private water companies, the Arizona Corporation Commission gives them a service area boundary. That service area boundary is called a CCNN. What's your CCNN? Which is a Certificate of Convenience and Necessity, which is basically your service boundary. As of August 2025, we had 1,800 customers. In 2020, not every private water company has this designation. I don't know what percentage of them do versus don't, but it's considered a relatively big deal. We received a designation of assured water supply in 2020, which goes through 2035. It's called we refer to it as a DAWS. It is a determination by ADWR that we have shown that there is a 100-year supply of water to serve all current and future development within the service area. So that's where we are there. These are the county entities that we work most frequently with Rocking K. Someone in our office is talking to someone in one of these departments all of the time. Next. We do collaborate and communicate with these entities. If you're not on here and you want to be on here, give us a call. Next. You know, one of the things that we got such an unusual outpouring of appreciation because a lot of the initial construction of Rocking K South was during COVID when employment was really challenged. And so a lot of people that would not otherwise have been employed were able to work on in some part of the planning for Rocking K. And people would go on the Diamond Ventures website and contact us and go, I just want to thank you that I was able to stay employed, you know, that Rocking K kept us employed during that really, really difficult time. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we do our very best to work with local providers. And there's a long list of them. Next slide. This isn't all of them, but oh, or not. Okay. Yep. Okay, next. Rocking K South. Okay. So here was the original Rocking K South in the specific plan in 1996. Here's what the plan as it looks today. One of the things that happened is that after this basically 1,200 acres south of Old Spanish Trail was in the specific plan, we acquired the 800 acres around it after 1996. Next. So here are the Rocking K home sales. The total number of homes as of October 13th that have been closed and occupied to date is 983. The builders have purchased 2,789 lots of that 4,700 that is the cap. The average new home purchase price at Rocking K is $443,312. One of the things that Fernanda and I get to do is we get to name the streets and the neighborhoods in Rocking K. And so one of the things that we've tried to be intentional about is being authentic about the history of the region and the area. So Lennar's wildflower estates are all wildflowers that are listed on the Saguaro National Park website. You know, those kinds of things. Obviously, one of the reasons that we hosted Juneteenth is because Lennar's Mountain View has 9 streets that are named for notable individuals in Arizona's history that are of African descent. and Mountain View itself was a resort hotel in Oracle, Arizona, whose owners were of African and Native American descent, and they were registered as the first millionaires in Arizona. So, and we just got approval from Pima County addressing. I don't think we listed them on our entities that we, for Navajo code talkers from Arizona for another one of our neighborhoods, including all from Arizona, because there's Navajo code, there's code talkers, indigenous code talkers from other states. These are all from Arizona. 7 of them are Purple Hearts. So we're trying to remember every one of Silver Ridge is all original mining claims in Arizona. So we're trying to be authentic in that way. So we get asked a lot about transportation and off-site road improvements. I think one of the things that is difficult for us internally and is difficult for everyone that lives in the region is how long it takes for a roadway project to go from planning to construction to being open. This is just the planning process. It's mind-numbing how long it takes. Okay. So here are the Rocking K off-site transportation infrastructure improvements. So the transportation improvements for Rocking K are coordinated with Pima County and the Pima County Department of Transportation. And there is a requirement for incremental updates where we come out and analyze the traffic and the traffic patterns. And so right now, our completed projects, we already talked about the extension of Valencia Road from Houghton to Old Spanish Trail, including the bridge over the Pantano Wash. And then the traffic signal at Valencia and Old Spanish Trail. Under construction now, which means it's gone through the federal procurement process and those contracts have been let, is the traffic signal at Old Spanish Trail and Camino Loma Alta, the installation of a drainage culvert on Camino Loma Alta to correct the dip section and access. You know, it's very difficult if you have a standard transmission. Traffic signal at Old Spanish Trail and Rocking K Ranch Loop Road. Then future improvements will be to widen Old Spanish Trail to 4 lanes from Valencia Road to Rocking K Ranch Loop. And that is going to include multi-use path that will connect to the Rocking K Market and store in the public roadway right-of-way, bike lanes, drainage crossings, and there will be landscaped median islands. So that widening will basically be the 2 lanes will stay in place and 2 lanes will be added on the north side. It's kind of how, with the landscape medians in between. And then to widen Camino Loma Alta to 4 lanes from Old Spanish Trail to the boundary of our property, which is where the Rincon Valley Fire District station is and the water storage tank.
It'll be 4 lanes and then go back down to 2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, which is why we all need to advocate for more investment in roadway infrastructure to leverage our investment with other folks. Yeah.
Totally selfish question. Which entrance to Rocking K is getting the lights?
So
Can I vote for a certain one?
Sure. Which one would you like?
The one that is currently it's the one that's completed. It's over the one that goes into where Mountain View and those are. Oh, that leads to the school.
Yes, that's the one getting the light. That's the first one getting the light.
Not selfish at all, there's
The second one, getting the light, will probably be Monument View Way, which is the new one that will exist between the store and the main entrance to Rocking K now. But Rocking K Ranch Loop Road and Old Spanish Trail, the current entrance that all of the residents come in off of, is getting a light. Should be 2025.
You're saving a lot of teenagers because, man, it's scary watching those kids blow up.
It's, I think one of the things is it's frustrating when you want investment in roadway infrastructure to compensate for poor driver decisions.
Absolutely.
So,
My kids are older, but I'm seeing these 16-year-olds getting smashed up.
well,
Thank you for putting
some of you may know what my Rincon Valley experience has been. I have been a victim of a careless driver on Valencia Road and Old Spanish Trail, so I understand what you're saying. Okay, are we having fun yet? Okay, Rocking K North. So Rocking K North, this is the whole thing, not south of Rincon Creek, north of Old Spanish Trail. But, so the specific plan, so the title is wrong. I'm covering that up. Yeah, it's the whole Rocking K North. Yeah. Look, yeah, right, it is. I tried to pack it all in. So it's zoned for low, medium, medium high, and high density residential. It has natural open space and functional open space, which allows golf. It has the Rincon Creek and parks. And then in commercial, it had mixed use office, commercial, retail, residential, and major resort. Initially, it was planned that Rocking K Phase 2, after Academy Village, would continue north of Old Spanish Trail. However, it's changed, and now we're, okay. And now Phase 2 is south of Old Spanish Trail. But you will see the OS, the Kelly green kind of color was the original golf courses on Rocking K North. The olive greenish is the natural open space, if that makes sense. Okay, then there's been a lot of questions about what's happening with the grading north of Old Spanish Trail. What's going on? Okay, so we were requested by Pima County Regional Flood Control District when we wanted to dedicate Rincon Creek to them. And this is kind of personal to me because Mr. Diamond, before he passed, came to me and said, Priscilla, I would like for you to work with Pima County to get Rincon Creek into their hands. They will be better long-term conservators of the creek than we will be. To which I would say, Mr. Diamond, that was easier said than done. But it took us a couple of years. But when we approached the county to start to have those discussions, you have to remember, we got the entitlements, we built Academy Village, we thought the first phase was going to be north. So when Academy Village was built, there was excess dirt. We went to FEMA with Pima County Flood Control District and got permission to place the excess soil from Academy Village in the Rincon Creek in these three areas. Because if you remember in the photo, we had a golf course on either side of the creek. And when we developed the golf course in the original plan, it was going to provide bank protection that would take this out of the floodway of the Rincon Creek. And we thought that was all going to be compressed in a short amount of time. Does that make sense? Are you following with me? I know it's hard to verbally describe. It's even harder to write down. So when we went to talk to them about the Rincon Creek, They said, okay, we'll have the conversation, but the first thing you have to do is you have got to remove these 3 things out of the creek before, we need to have that conversation in conjunction with this. So as we went through those discussions, what you have seen happen is Pima County Flood Control District required us to remove a significant amount of dirt. And so it was taken out of the creek and placed in what will be the future neighborhood, town, village center. And that's what you've seen going on. But it was a condition of Pima County Flood Control District, and including getting a conditional letter of map revision from FEMA because of those modifications. But that's what happened, and that's part of the reason why Rocking K Stables was, as a tenant in Rocking K North, was relocated, because it was where this excess soil and dirt needed to be placed. Next. Okay, so the Rocking K North concept plan, as we said, the next phase is going to be the land south of Rincon Creek, north of Old Spanish Trail. And it's going to be a mixed-use neighborhood commercial center. But I get asked, is there going to be a Sprouts? Is there going to be a Trader Joe's? Is there going to be a sit-down restaurant? And I join all of you with saying, I hope so, right? I hope so. But right now, we're only doing the horizontal work. And then there has to be enough rooftops and population for there to be commercial interest. And then we'll start, and typically when you do this, you need an anchor, so you would need a grocery store commitment first, and then you sort of build around that. We have an expert in our office by the name of Bill Kelly, who oversees all of our commercial division. We do have Houghton Town Center on Houghton Road is one of our projects. Rita Commerce and Rita Crossing are also our commercial projects on Houghton. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Priscilla.
No, don't apologize.
I've been storing this all up.
Okay.
The latest rumor I have heard is that Target's coming.
Oh, well, I haven't heard that rumor.
I heard that one too.
Really?
I did.
Huh. Well, it hasn't made it to the water cooler in the Diamond Ventures office yet, so.
We're sending it now.
Okay, all right. From your lips to God's ears, right? So that's where that is.
That's the last slide.
Da-da-dun-da-dun. There is my email, and there is how you can reach me at the office. If you call the office and I'm not in the office, they'll transfer it to my cell phone. So you're kind of good either way. And I'm happy to take any questions. Or maybe I've done such a great job there aren't any. That would be, or I just bored you to death.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity
Okay.
to say that I appreciate you
Thank you.
and I appreciate Diamond Ventures.
Thank you. It takes a village to make a village, right?
I have one question for you. Sorry. Priscilla has taught me a lot over these last 11 months. So as she explains, I'm always like, oh, I didn't think about that. So my question is, before the rezoning ordinance, when a plan is modified, as a builder, are you required to accept the changes or modify, or is it just non-negotiable?
So if I'm in a rezoning and the local government says we would like you to do this,
Yes.
and I haven't gotten my rezoning yet.
You're in the process before the rezoning.
Okay, I'm in the process and I get asked to do something. It's a negotiation.
Okay.
Definitely a negotiation. one of the things that I think of that is important in the process is that everything has a price tag, right? We have an affordable housing problem here. And I think people don't look at these things holistically. So let's see, the Multifamily Housing Association produced a report that says 40% of the cost of rent is government regulations or exactions. So the challenge is when you get into a negotiation, is that we have a budget and we have a pro forma. And we're at great risk because the outlay of so to open Rocking K required a significant capital investment. And then interest rates increased. It has an impact. We all have checking accounts and debit cards, and the same basic math applies. So when you get into a negotiation and neighborhood associations ask, or government staff, development services ask for something, we immediately go back and plug in an estimated cost. And we always say, how many bites at the apple can we survive, right? Because everybody wants something, right? And that's human nature. It's not good people or bad people. Everybody wants something, and we just, so when we're going through the process, it is a negotiation all the way through until we get the rezoning approval. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
again, before we close, many thanks to
All
our
right.
speaker and also to her team, Fernanda and Ed. And we have another SEAC board member. Hi, Linda. Linda's here. And we also have a VIP, Dr. Denise Bowl is here. She, as I think Priscilla might have said. I know it's
Sorry, I'm
behind the
interested.
curtain. Sorry, yeah. I'm good. She is president and CEO of the Greater Vail Chamber. Many thanks, of course, to Gerald Artecki and to Kathy at the sign-in. And if you'd like more information about SEAC, or like to join us or get on our mailing list, well, if you put your email address on there, you have become a part of our mailing list now. But if you would like more information, yeah, definitely be sure to put your email address on the sign-in sheet. And before we close, SEAC is going to have a booth at the upcoming Vail Fest. So the Vail Fest is an annual event put on by the folks at Greater Vail Chamber of Commerce, and this year's event will be Saturday, November 8th from 9 to 4 p.m. at the fairgrounds. There's going to be food trucks and our booth. There's going to be kids' activities in our booth. There'll be a silent auction and a beer tent. So I hope you'll all be there, and thank you so much for coming, and have a safe drive home, and I don't think it's raining, so that's good. Thank you.